As soon as I get off.
Yeah, exactly. Why they get or you get the opposite, you get people doing that, and that's not what we want either. So you just want natural. Yeah, so it's really good for that, and it's nice. That's why I'm focusing. This one I was talking about is not quite there. I love this. Which looks like, it looks sort of like about like that.
Sorry?
They're going to lower them down.
Yeah.
But we're in the glass. Climbing up to the bridge is really
Oh, God. Guys, pull out. Back of the head. Yeah. I don't think they were looking. Yeah. Huh? You alright? Yeah. Well, you said they like football, so they talking about...
Yeah, a few of them football.
Which teams are they?
They love Boston.
Take all the street stuff while you're there.
Yeah, I did a bit of daily line, but this thing. So I'm happy, very happy. Behind me, you know. I need it next year. Yeah, well, yeah, do the counters and do the dishwasher. It's not like a very dynamic, like I'm gonna get 1%.
So somebody left over the years. Have they got Isabel?
No. She just freelances over. She freelances over. Just expand.
They've told her that.
Told us no. So we actually plan.
Oh,
No, right to the
painful. Yeah. Oh, King. Yeah. Yeah, well, I was expecting but I think there was a street not okay. Showed me the also. They offered me
Stand up.
Hello there, it's Liam here. Yes, that's the one. We've just done our live, and I was just ringing to see if it's okay for me to come down and say
Wow, the crowds are mounting.
Yes, everyone's hopping fast, everyone's good.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, this is alright, no worries. Alright, cheers then. Bye. Are they? hold. How long do you wait? Well, anything it's a 16 or less, I think literally on my signal now it's dropped down to 670. It's dropping, I can see it. So you might not get this from the top. I don't know, I'm leaving it anyway, it's happening. So yeah, it's too many phones all coming in. Oh, good, we got rid of them all. Honestly, it's right.
Movie studios use the world's most advanced processor because its rendering speeds render other processors obsolete. AMD. Together, we advance.
Fine, thanks. So yeah, they did a quick look. I think they were talking about it.
think they're probably well, how much you've got that and John Mason. Where's Major? Major went through to the left. He's out of vision now.
Definitely, yeah, left the cloud.
Either left or right.
So it's going through now. There's your Major.
it has pleased Almighty God to call to his mercy our late Sovereign Lady, Queen Elizabeth II, of blessed and glorious memory, by whose decease the crown of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland is solely and rightfully come to the Prince Charles Philip Arthur George. We, therefore, the Lords Spiritual and Temporal of this realm, and members of the House of Commons, together with other members of Her late Majesty's Privy Council, and representatives of the realms and territories, aldermen and citizens of London and others, do now hereby, with one voice and consent of tongue and heart, publish and proclaim that the Prince Charles Philip Arthur George is now, by the death of our late sovereign of happy memory, become our only lawful and rightful liege lord, Charles III. By the grace of God, of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and of his other realms and territories, King, head of the Commonwealth, defender of the faith, to whom we do acknowledge all faith and obedience with humble affection, beseeching God, by whom kings and queens do reign, to bless his majesty with long and happy years to reign over us. Given at St. James's Palace this 10th day of September in the year of our Lord 2022. God save the King!
The auto industry uses the world's most advanced processor to drive the future of autonomous driving. AMD. Together, we advance.
Three cheers for His Majesty the King. Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray!
In charge, will replace pictures. Replace pictures. Done. Kingdom. Take guard.
She'll be the chance. She'll be the chance. But where's Jones? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Can't be.
No one! Punch it in! Fire! Number two! Fire! No one! Load! Cut it! Numbers 1 and 3! Catcher Jolie! Alert! Number 1! Country Jolie! Unload! Cut it! Report! Guns empty! Hup. Hup. Hup.
Pursue Amity University online bachelor's and master's degree at your own pace.
You're watching the SLBC on Channel 31, the authentic voice of Sierra Leone.
Waiting do we alone for well now we are. I say salon man and woman as a middle. Yes, Hindu we sweet salon for well now we are. Where we get we gold, where we get we diamond.
Mother, without going over the top. And we forgot that for 70 years we'd had a monarch who never really radiated feeling. I mean, that came partly from her view of the monarchy as having to be neutral. But she was a shy and withdrawn person. And we've now got a more committed monarch, and that's going to make a change.
Now, you mentioned Queen Elizabeth's ability not to show her feelings or her views. Obviously, with Prince Charles as he was, we know a lot about what he felt about things. How is he going to be able to contain that and stay within the constitutional boundaries?
Well, he was asked this question, of course, and his brisk reply was, I'm not stupid. I know the difference between being a prince and a king. And I think he's actually shown it.
What about the differences between the UK and the Commonwealth now compared with what they were when Queen Elizabeth ascended to the throne?
I think in the course of Elizabeth's reign, no less than 47 or 48 colonies became independent countries. It's quite extraordinary. At the United Nations, I think there are still 190 members or so. And not many people realise that more than a quarter of them were former British possessions which have now become independent. There's one remnant in that field you raise about the Commonwealth. One of the anomalies is that King Charles is not just King of Great Britain, Northern Ireland, he's also actually King of Canada and King of Australia and King of New Zealand. And already Barbados has said, thank you very much. We're happy to stay in the Commonwealth, but we really don't need an elderly white lady or an elderly white gentleman as our head of state. I think that will be something we will see in his reign, that countries like Jamaica will say, we're happy to stay in the British orbit, we're happy to be in the Commonwealth, but no, we actually don't want you to remain our king. Whether Australia or Canada feel the same, remains to be seen.
And just to go back to what you said about what people feel about him now, I mean, there have been obviously a rash of polls to do with the coronation, and one of them has said that only 3 in 10 Britons think the monarchy is very important, and it's the lowest proportion on record. That's National Centre for Social Research. But then, conversely, there was a poll by YouGov for the Times which found that the King's positive ratings are rising. So how do you kind of interpret the polls at the moment as showing that people are kind of perhaps more indifferent in general to the monarchy, but are kind of given, perhaps more positive about Charles now that he's there?
Well, monarchy retains its remnants of authoritarian power. If you go back 1,000 years in history, there's lots of things in British history to regret, not least slavery and colonialism, and the monarchy was identified with those. So it's not surprising that people today should feel ambivalent about it, and also that the British people, not always demonstrative, should take some sort of pride in saying, well, we don't care, couldn't care less. But I think the public affection shown on public occasions belies that. I mean, obviously, this man is not elected. The monarchy is not elected. The closest you get to an election for a head of state is something like a coronation or a jubilee. And if you arrange a jubilee or a coronation and nobody comes out to cheer, well, that's like a negative vote in the ballot box. Certainly last year with the jubilee, we had this very interesting moment in the jubilee when everybody was gathered just here at St. Paul's Cathedral, all inside, great atmosphere of reverence, and along comes Boris Johnson, who was then the Prime Minister, and gets booed. Now, I thought that was marvellous, not because I got anything against Boris Johnson, but it reminded us of how the British system works, that the monarchy is there for what we agree about, and the politics is there for what we disagree about.
Under the Queen, the monarchy became a sort of almost a brand, didn't it? And there's been an estimate putting the capital value of the UK monarchy as a business at £67.5 billion. What symbols do you think Charles might bring into it to perpetuate the brand idea of the monarchy?
Well, I think this identification with green causes, he was one of the first people to cotton onto that and see the value of it. I think we will see him going abroad much more once the coronation period is over. He's already had one incredibly successful tour to Europe, the government decided they wanted him to start in Europe. He couldn't go to France because of the trouble there, so he went to Germany. And he stood up in front of the Bundestag, the parliament, and spoke for what? Who knew he could speak German? I mean, it reminded us that, of course, we have a German royal family. But he stood there, he spoke German, he spoke English, he switched from one to the other. He's very accomplished and holds himself well. And I think in that way, he can be a spokesman for Britain abroad that many people will... Well, the Germans gave him half an hour and a standing ovation. So if he gets that everywhere, it'll be good for brand Britain, I think.
And just to go back to the man himself, tell us a bit about his character and how he's ended up being the man he is, his upbringing and the influences that have shaped him.
We've been reminded a lot on recent television programmes about what a miserable childhood he had, being forced to be a hearty British public school boy. He famously called his school Colditz in Kilts, because it was in Scotland, Gordonston, and it reminded him of the famous prisoner of war camp, or notorious prisoner of war camp, Colditz. So there's an example of him being quite outspoken about really thinking that his parents didn't give him the education he wanted. So I think, yes, outspokenness will be one of his, one of the ingredients he brings to the brand. And of course, he does in the future have personal, private issues to handle. His relationship with Harry and Meghan, for example. One of the things we should bear in mind is that 30, 40 years ago, there are a lot of people who didn't think he'd make a suitable king. That there was the scandal of his breakup, of his marriage with Diana. Camilla, now a beloved queen, was called a wicked woman, even by Elizabeth II herself. So he's shown in his lifetime how he can turn things around. So he has got the ability to influence events.
Just to pick up on a couple of the things you mentioned there, that relationship, the fractious relationship with the sons between them, how is that going to be managed, do you think? And what are the sort of signals coming from what we've seen with the coronation and the recent events with the books and the court cases and so on?
Well, there are two ways of looking at all of this. Why is Harry coming to the coronation at all if he's so against the monarchy? Why is Meghan in America producing young princes and princesses and insisting that her children should be called princes and princesses if they're against the monarchy? The way in which both this couple have television contracts worries Charles and particularly William. I think there are two aspects in the future to the possibility of the rift getting brought together. Charles would clearly like to end the rift with Harry. I mean, it reflects on him as a father in terms of his brand, but also as a father. He wants the boy back, and he'd like to see his grandchildren. I think William feels differently. We know William feels differently. The brothers fell out basically because of their different views of Meghan. William thought she was bad for the monarchy, too big for her boots. Harry felt that his wife was being attacked. Now here you have two brothers. William standing by his destiny, what he stands for. Harry standing by his wife. Now, in any family setup, those are issues that don't get resolved easily, and I wouldn't see the Harry-William rift getting solved for a long time.
And also to go back to what you said about King Charles, how he was viewed a number of years ago, when there was the biography, the 2-hour documentary that he did for Jonathan Dimbleby, and it was in part in retaliation, wasn't it, for the Diana, her true story book that had been done in 1992. I mean, when he admitted adultery in the Dimbleby interview, what was the reaction? Remind us how that went and why people were so cross.
Well, it's extraordinary to look back now, 20, 30 years, to the 1990s. I mean, the Queen herself called 1992 her annus horribilis, and that did refer to the fact that her son was in the process of committing adultery, admitted committing adultery. It was like the times of Henry VIII. I mean, the British monarchy was mired in scandal. There was Diana saying there were 3 of us in the marriage, and everybody knew the third one was Camilla.
How do you think? I mean, you said it's extraordinary that he has turned it round. That we're in a situation where he's now king, Camilla's to be queen, and he's got everything that he wants. How did he manage to get from the position where he was at one point? His popularity rating was 4%, wasn't it, in the middle of all this? How did he move from that to where we are now? Was it just times have changed?
Partly. But when Diana said, she doubted whether he was suitable to be king, people listened to that. I think the turnaround is a lot to do with his own resilience, keeping going. It's a lot to do with people seeing more of Camilla and appreciating her more than they did. But I think, to be honest, it's also that we, the Brits, want it to work. I mean, we like to like our king. We like to admire the Queen, as she now is. But only a few years ago, Charles himself was saying, well, don't worry, folks. She's never going to be called Queen. We're just going to call her Queen, Princess Consort or something like that. It's a two-way process here. And you see it when people come out on the streets and cheer outside the palace.
Tell me about the royal family generally. Why is it, do you think, because you've studied other royal families, haven't you? Why is it that the UK's one is the most recognised in the world, and how is it different from other royal families?
It's remarkable how many monarchies remain in Europe and in countries that many of us would consider quite grown up, the Scandinavian countries, Sweden, Denmark. We think of them as rather more intelligent and rational than us, and look, they keep monarchies, but they put their monarchs on bicycles. And in fact, there's not a single monarchy in Europe that has a coronation. Every new monarch comes in, makes a modest avowal to the Parliament at the time, and then gets on with the job. We're the only ones who